The Loran patrol ship moved through the dark space like a giant metal beast. Its engines hummed with power. The ship was called the Iron Claw, and it was one of the finest vessels in the Loran fleet. The Lorans were proud of their ships. They were proud of everything they built. Captain Bora stood on the command deck. She was tall, even for a Loran. Her fur was dark gray with silver streaks near her ears. Her yellow eyes watched the stars through the large window. The Lorans looked like great cats that walked on two legs. They had sharp claws, powerful muscles, and teeth that could crush metal. They were predators. The galaxy knew this well. "Captain," said one of her officers, "we found something strange." Bora turned her head slowly. "What is it?" "Debris field ahead. Looks like a cargo ship was destroyed here, maybe 3 days ago." Bora walked closer to the screen. She saw the floating pieces of metal and broken parts. It was a small human cargo vessel. The Lorans did not think much of humans. They were small creatures, weak. They had no claws, no fangs, no fur to protect them from cold. The Lorans did not understand how humans had survived in space at all. "Any survivors?" Bora asked. "No life signs on the debris, but there is an escape pod nearby. It is damaged but still sealed." Bora thought for a moment. The Lorans had no war with humans. There was no reason to help them either, but leaving creatures to die in space was not the Loran way. Even weak creatures deserved a quick death, not a slow one from hunger and cold. "Bring the pod aboard," she ordered. The crew worked fast. Within an hour, the damaged escape pod sat in the cargo bay. Bora went down to see it herself. Several of her crew came with her. The cubs also came. Loran ships often carried young ones so they could learn the ways of space travel. There were 5 cubs on the Iron Claw. They were curious about everything. The largest cub was named. He was almost old enough to be called an adult. His fur was light brown and his eyes were bright gold. He pushed to the front to see the escape pod. "What is inside?" asked. "Humans," said one of the crew members. 2 of them, they are barely alive." Bora ordered the pod opened. The metal door creaked and fell away. Inside they found 2 humans lying together. One was a male. He was young, maybe 20 years old by human count. His hair was black and messy. His face was pale and tired. The other was a female. She was even younger. Her long dark hair covered part of her face. She was not moving. The male human opened his eyes. He saw the giant Loran standing around him. For a moment, fear crossed his face. Then something else replaced it. He moved his body to cover the female. He put himself between her and the Lorans. "Stay back," the human said. His voice was weak, but there was something hard in it. The Lorans looked at each other. This was strange behavior. When prey saw predators, they usually tried to run. They did not stand and fight. They did not protect others. "We are not going to hurt you," Bora said slowly. She spoke in the common trade language that most species understood. "What happened to your ship?" The human watched her carefully. He did not move from his protective position. "Pirates," he said. "They attacked us, killed everyone else. We hid in the cargo section and found this escape pod." "What are your names?" "I am She is my sister." Bora nodded. She looked at. The young female was breathing, but her breaths were short and weak. There was a wound on her arm. It looked infected. "Your sister is sick," Bora said. "She needs medicine." His eyes grew wet. "I know, I tried to help her, but there was nothing in the pod. Please, if you have medicine, please help her. I will do anything." The cubs watched this with great interest. They had never seen a human before. The older Lorans always said humans were like small animals. They said humans were not important. But this human did not act like a small animal. He was afraid, yes. But he still stood in front of his sister. He still tried to protect her. Bora made her decision. Take them to the medical bay. Give the female treatment. Some of the crew looked surprised. "Captain, they are just humans. Why waste our medicine?" Bora's eyes became sharp. "I gave an order. Do you challenge me?" The The crew member lowered his head quickly. "No, Captain, I will do as you say." Watched as the Lorans carefully lifted. He tried to follow, but his legs were too weak. He fell to the ground. Before anyone could react, Young moved forward. The big cub put his furry arm under his body and helped him stand. "I will help you walk," said. Looked up at the young Loran, was twice his size. His claws were as long as fingers, but his eyes were not cruel, they were curious. "Thank you," whispered. Helped walk through the ship's long hallways. The other cubs followed behind. They whispered to each other. "Did you see? He tried to fight us. He is so small, how did he think he could win? Maybe humans are crazy." Listened to his friends but said nothing. He was thinking about what he had seen. The human was small and weak. He had no weapons. He knew he could not win against the Lorans, but he still stood up. He still tried to protect his sister. This was not what expected from a weak species. In the medical bay, the Loran doctors worked on. They gave her medicine to fight the infection. They cleaned her wound and wrapped it with healing cloth, sat beside her bed the whole time. He held her hand and would not let go. "She will live," the doctor told, "but she needs rest, many days of rest." His whole body relaxed, tears fell from his eyes. Thank you so much." The doctor was surprised. He had never seen a creature cry from happiness before. Lorans did not cry. They roared when they were angry and purred when they were happy, but they did not make water come from their eyes. "Strange creatures," the doctor muttered as he walked away. Captain Bora came to check on the humans later. She found still sitting by his sister's bed. He had not eaten. He had not slept. He just sat there, holding his hand and watching her breathe. "You should rest," Bora said. Shook his head. "I cannot. What if she wakes up and I am not here? She will be scared." Bora did not understand this. On Loran ships, the sick were left alone to heal. Family visited sometimes, but no one sat by a bed for hours. It was not practical. "You humans are strange," Bora said. Looked at her. "Maybe, but she is my sister. She is all I have left." Bora left without saying anything more, but she thought about those words for a long time. In the floor vents of the ship, sounds began to echo, strange sounds. The cubs heard them and wondered what they meant. They did not know yet, but those sounds would change everything. 3 days passed on the Iron Claw, was getting better. The Loran medicine was strong. Her fever broke on the 2nd day. Her wound started to heal on the 3rd, but she was still weak. She could not walk far. She could not eat solid food yet. Never left her side. The Loran crew brought him food, but he barely touched it. He only ate when begged him to. The crew talked about this strange behavior. They did not understand it. Captain Bora gave the humans a small room near the medical bay. It was a storage room before, but she had it cleaned and made ready for them. It was not comfortable by Loran standards. The bed was hard and the room was cold, but thanked her like she had given them a palace. The cubs continued to watch the humans from a distance. They were curious creatures, these young Lorans. They wanted to know more about the strange visitors, but the adults told them to stay away. "Humans are fragile," said one of the older crew members. "If you play too rough, you might break them." The cubs laughed at this. How could anything be that fragile? But did not laugh. He kept thinking about the human male, about how it stood up even when he was weak, about how he had put himself between his sister and danger, wanted to understand this. One night could not sleep. He walked through the quiet hallways of the ship. Most of the crew was resting. The lights were dim, like this time. The ship felt peaceful. As he walked, he heard a strange sound. It came from the floor vents. The vents on Loran ships were large, big enough for a cub to crawl through. Some young Lorans liked to play in them, but this sound was different. It was not a Loran sound. Followed the sound. It led him to the hallway near the human's room. He put his ear close to the floor vent. The sound was clearer now. It was soft and sad, like wind moving through trees. Then he heard words, human words, someone was singing. Had never heard singing before. Lorans did not sing. They made sounds to communicate, roars for anger, growls for warning, purrs for comfort. But they did not put words to melody like this. The young cub was fascinated. He lay down on the floor and pressed his face against the vent. Through the metal bars he could see into the room below. He saw sitting on the bed, was lying down with her head on his lap. Her eyes were closed, but she was not sleeping. Tears ran down her face. Was singing to her. His voice was soft and gentle. The words were in the human language that did not understand, but the meaning was clear. It was a song of comfort, a song that said everything would be okay. Watched for a long time. He watched stroke his sister's hair. He watched tears slowly stop. He watched her breathing become calm and steady as she finally fell asleep. Only then did stop singing. He looked down at his sister with eyes full of love. Then he looked up, straight at the vent, straight at. Froze, he had been caught but did not scream. He did not look scared. He just smiled a little and put one finger to his lips. The message was clear, please be quiet, she is sleeping. Backed away from the vent slowly. His heart was beating fast. He went back to his sleeping area, but he could not rest. He kept thinking about what he had seen. The next day told the other cubs what happened. You were spying on the humans, asked a female cub named. Her fur was spotted with black and gold. She was the second oldest of the cubs. I was not spying, said. I was curious. That sounds like spying to me, said another cub named. He was smaller than the others, but he was clever. What was the sound like? Asked the youngest cub, a small female named. Her eyes were wide with interest. Tried to explain. It was like water flowing, but with words in it. The human made the sound with his mouth. It was beautiful. The cubs did not believe him. They had never heard of such a thing. You are making things up, said. I am not. Come with me tonight, I will show you. That night all 5 cubs crept through the hallways. They lay down near the floor vent and waited. For a long time nothing happened. The cubs grew restless. They started to think had lied. Then the sound came. Was crying again. She had nightmares now. She dreamed of the pirate attack. She dreamed of the people who died. She woke up screaming and shaking. Each time held her clothes and sang to her. The cubs listened with their mouths open. They had never heard anything like this. The song filled the hallway. It echoed through the vents and walls. It was sad and sweet at the same time. What is that? Whispered. I do not know, whispered back, but it makes my chest feel strange. Was crying. Small tears rolled down her furry cheeks. She did not know why. She just knew the sound made her feel something deep inside. The cubs listened until the song ended. Then they quietly went back to their sleeping area. They did not sleep for a long time. They just lay there, thinking about what they had heard. From that night on, the cubs became obsessed with the humans. They watched them whenever they could. They followed them when the humans walked through the ship. They listened to their conversations. They learned that and were from a small human colony called Earth 3. Their parents died when they were young. They grew up in a care home with other orphan children. When they were old enough, they got jobs on a cargo ship. It was not a good life, but it was their life. Then the pirates came. The pirates killed everyone except End. The siblings survived because hid them in a secret compartment. They stayed hidden for 2 days before they could reach the escape pod. The cubs could not believe this story. Lorans were strong. They fought back against enemies. They did not hide. Hiding was shameful. But then asked a question that changed everything. If had fought the pirates, what would have happened? The cubs thought about this. He would have died, said. And what about? She would have died too. Nodded slowly. So he hid to protect her, not because he was scared, because fighting would have meant losing her. The cubs were quiet. They had never thought about it that way. That night went to the vent again, but this time he did not just watch. He opened the vent cover and dropped down into the room below. He landed softly on his big padded feet. Jumped up from the bed. His eyes went wide. He moved quickly to stand between and the sleeping. "Stay back," said. His voice shook, but he did not move. Looked at the human, was so small. His head barely reached his chest. He had no claws, no teeth, no weapons. Against a Loran, even a young one like he had no chance. But he still stood there. He still put himself in danger for his sister. Something strange happened inside his chest. It felt tight and warm at the same time. Later, he would learn that this feeling was called respect. "I am not here to hurt you," said softly. He sat down on the floor to make himself smaller, less scary. "I just want to talk. I want to know more about you." Did not move for a long time. He watched carefully. He looked for any sign of danger. Finally, slowly, he relaxed just a little. "Why?" asked. "Why do you want to know about us?" Thought about the question. "Because you are different. You are weak. But you do not act weak. You protect your sister even when you cannot win. I do not understand this." Sat down on the bed. He looked at sleeping peacefully. Then he looked back at. "Love," said. "That is why I love her. When you love someone, you protect them, even if it costs you everything. Even if you know you will lose, you still try, because that is what love means." Did not fully understand, but he wanted to learn more. That night in the small, cold room, a human and a Loran cub talked until the morning came, and something new began to grow between them, something that would change both their peoples forever. The weeks passed slowly on the Iron Claw. The ship was traveling to a Loran space station where and would be handed over to human authorities. It would take 30 more days to reach the station. 30 more days with the strange human visitors. The adults on the ship mostly ignored the humans. Captain Bora checked on them sometimes. The doctor visited to make sure was healing, but otherwise the crew treated and like cargo, something to deliver and forget about. The cubs were different. Every night visited the humans through the floor vent. Sometimes the other cubs came with him. They brought things, small gifts, food from the crew kitchen, warm blankets that the Lorans did not need because of their thick fur, medicine that they secretly took from the medical bay. At first was suspicious. He did not trust the young Lorans. He thought they were playing some cruel game, but the cubs kept coming back. They kept bringing gifts. They kept asking questions about humans and human ways. Slowly began to trust them. Took longer. She was scared of the big cat creatures. When she saw their claws and teeth, she remembered the pirates. She would shake and hide behind, but the cubs were patient. They never raised their voices around her. They moved slowly and carefully. They never showed their claws. One night, Little brought a flower. It was not a real flower. It was a drawing on paper, had made it herself. She was not a good artist. The flower looked more like a blob with lines coming out of it, but she gave it to with such hope in her eyes. Took the drawing. She looked at it for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since they came to the ship. "Thank you," said softly. "It is beautiful." Purred so loudly that the whole room vibrated. From that moment started to open up. She talked to the cubs. She told them stories about Earth and human life. She taught them human games like rock, paper, scissors. The cubs were terrible at it. Their big furry hands could not make the shapes properly, but they tried and tried, laughing at their own failures. The cubs learned many things about humans during those weeks. They learned that humans needed sleep every night. Lorans could stay awake for many days without rest. This seemed strange to them. How did humans get anything done if they had to sleep so much? They learned that humans felt cold easily. The ship was comfortable for Lorans, but the humans were always shivering. Started bringing extra heating pads to their room. She told the other cubs to do the same. They learned that humans ate different food. Lorans mostly ate meat, raw and fresh. Humans could not eat this way. Their stomachs were weaker. Started cooking food in the crew kitchen. He was not a good cook. The first few meals he made were terrible, but he kept practicing until and could eat without making faces. Most importantly, the cubs learned about human kindness. One day hurt his paw during training. It was not a serious injury, but it was painful. He did not want to go to the doctor because the doctor would tell Captain Bora. She would ask how he got hurt. He would have to admit he was playing instead of studying. Went to the humans instead. Looked at the wound carefully. It was a small cut between his toes. Blood dripped onto the floor. "Sit down," said, "I will help you." Cleaned the wound with water and cloth. He was gentle, even though his paw was bigger than his whole head. He wrapped the cut with a bandage from the supplies the cubs had brought. Then he did something strange. He held his paw between his two small hands, and he said, "I hope it feels better soon." Stared at him. "Why did you do that?" "Do what?" "Hold my paw, say those words." Smiled. "It is something humans do. When someone is hurt, we show we care. We touch them gently. We tell them we hope they feel better. It helps the pain go away." "How can words help pain go away?" "I do not know exactly, but they do. When someone shows they care about you, you feel less alone. And when you feel less alone, the pain does not seem so bad." Thought about this for a long time. Lorans did not comfort each other this way. When a Loran was hurt, they were expected to be strong, to ignore the pain, to heal alone. Showing weakness was shameful. But did not feel ashamed when held his paw. He felt warm, safe, like everything would be okay. The other cubs noticed how was changing. He was becoming gentler, softer. He stopped wrestling so roughly. He started saying kind words to his friends when they were sad. The other cubs did not understand at first, but slowly they started changing too. Learned to cook not just for the humans, but for everyone. He made food for the other cubs. He even made food for some of the adult crew members who were too busy to eat. Started helping younger cubs with their lessons. She was patient and kind. She never yelled when they made mistakes. Started making drawings for everyone, little pictures to make people smile. She put them under doors and in lockers. Soon, the whole ship was decorated with her art. Even the adults noticed something was different. The cubs were still young and playful, but there was something new in them, something gentle. Captain Bora called to her office one day. "I have heard strange things," she said. "The crew says you and the other cubs have been visiting the humans." Felt fear in his chest. He thought he was in trouble. "Yes, Captain," he admitted. "We have been visiting them." "Why?" Did not know how to answer. He thought about singing to his sister. He thought about the way the humans hugged each other. He thought about the warmth he felt when held his wounded paw. "They are interesting," finally said. "They are weak, but they are also strong. They cannot fight, but they still protect each other. They cannot survive alone, but together they survive everything. I wanted to learn how." Bora was quiet for a long moment. Her yellow eyes studied carefully. "And what have you learned?" she asked. "I learned that strength is not just about claws and teeth," said. "Sometimes strength is being kind when it is easier to be cruel. Sometimes strength is helping others when you could help yourself. The humans taught me this." Bora said nothing more. She waved her hand, telling he could leave. But as he walked away, he thought he saw something strange in the captain's eyes, something that looked almost like respect. That night told about the meeting with the captain. "I was scared," admitted. "I thought she would punish me for visiting you." Nodded. "Were you punished?" "No, she just asked me what I learned." "And what did you say?" Looked at his friend. In the past weeks had become more than just an interesting creature. He had become a true friend, the first non-Loran friend had ever had. "I said you taught me about strength," said, "real strength." Smiled. His small human face looked warm and happy. "You know," said, "you taught me something too." "What did I teach you?" "That not all predators are dangerous. Some of them are just big cats who want to understand the world, laughed softly. Some of them are gentle. Purred, the sound filled the small room. Who had been sleeping woke up and smiled at the sound. I like that sound, she said sleepily. It sounds like safety. Purred louder, and in that moment, in that small room on a ship traveling through dark space, 3 different creatures felt the same thing. They felt like family. The floor vents of the iron claw echoed that night, not with roars of anger or growls of warning, but with the gentle sounds of friendship, of kindness, of love. Something was changing on the ship, something important, and it would not be stopped. The Iron Claw was only 5 days away from the space station when everything changed. It started with a simple accident. Was walking through the hallway with, she was stronger now. She could walk on her own, but she still got tired easily, stayed close to catch her if she fell. They were talking and laughing, was teaching a human song. It was a silly song about a cat chasing its tail. Thought it was the funniest thing she had ever heard. A cat chasing its tail? How foolish. They did not see the senior officer coming around the corner. His name was Commander. He was old and proud. His fur was gray with age and his eyes were cold. He believed in the old ways. He believed Lorans were the greatest creatures in the galaxy. He believed all other species were beneath them. When he saw and laughing together, he stopped. His eyes went wide. Then they became narrow and angry. "What is this?" he demanded. Stood up straight. "Commander, she is one of the human survivors we rescued." "I know what she is," growled. "Why are you walking with it? Why are you laughing with it like it is your equal?" Step back. She could feel the danger in the old Loran's voice. Her heart started beating fast. "She is my friend," said. Her voice was small but steady. Stared at like she had said something crazy. "Friend, you are a Loran, a proud daughter of our people, and you call this weak creature your friend." "She is not weak," said. "She is different, but different does not mean weak." Sfur stood up on his back. This was a sign of great anger in Loran's. He looked at with hate in his eyes. "You," he said you have done something to our cubs. You have poisoned their minds with your human ideas. I knew we should have left you to die in space." Could not speak, she was too scared. She just stood there shaking. Then raised his clawed hand. Everything happened very fast after that. Jumped in front of, claws came down. They hit shoulder instead of face, cried out in pain. Blood appeared on her golden fur. Screamed. The scream echoed through the ship. It traveled through the hallways and the floor vents. It reached every corner of the Iron Claw. Heard it first. He was in the kitchen learning to make a new dish. When he heard scream, his blood turned to ice. He ran without thinking. He ran faster than he had ever run in his life. The cubs heard it too, was training when the scream came. He dropped his practice weapon and ran toward the sound. Was in her room drawing. She ran out without even closing her door. They all arrived at the same time. The scene they found was terrible. Was on the floor crying. Was in front of her bleeding from her shoulder. Was standing over them both, his claws raised for another strike. "Stop!" roared. Turned to look at the young cubs. "Stay out of this. These humans have corrupted you. They need to be destroyed." "They have not corrupted us," said. "They have taught us." "Taught you what? To be weak, to be soft. You are Lorans, you are predators, act like it." Stood tall. Behind him, the other cubs gathered, and several others who had come running, even some of the younger cubs who had only heard stories about the humans. "Being kind is not the same as being weak," said. His voice was strong and clear. "Protecting others is not the same as being soft. The humans showed us this. They showed us that true strength comes from love." Laughed. It was an ugly sound. Love. Lorans do not need love. We need power. We need dominance. We need to crush anything weaker than us. "No," said a new voice. Everyone turned. Captain Bora stood at the end of the hallway. Her eyes were fixed on Commander. There was ice in her gaze. "Captain said, 'These humans have corrupted our cubs. They must be eliminated.'" Bora walked forward slowly. Each step was measured and dangerous. "You struck a cub, Commander, you struck." "I was trying to strike the human. The cub got in the way." "A cub got in the way to protect someone. Is that not what we teach our young? To protect those who cannot protect themselves?" His face twisted. "We teach them to protect Lorans, not humans, not lesser creatures." Bora stopped in front of. She was shorter than him, but somehow she seemed larger, more powerful. "I have watched these humans for weeks," Bora said. "I have seen how they care for each other. I have seen how they love without expecting anything in return. I have seen strength in them that we do not have." "You have gone mad," whispered. "No, I have learned, just like our cubs have learned." Bora turned to look at the others. "They are not corrupted, Commander. They are enlightened." Looked around the hallway. He saw the cubs standing together. He saw them protecting the humans with their bodies. He saw no fear in their eyes, only determination. "This is wrong," said. "The elders will hear about this. They will judge these humans. They will judge you too, Captain." "Then let them judge," Bora said. "I am not afraid of judgment. I have done nothing wrong." Pushed past her and walked away. His footsteps were heavy with anger. Everyone watched him go. When he was gone, ran to, he held her tight. She was still crying, but she was not hurt, had protected her. "Thank you," said Tu. "Thank you for saving her." Smiled despite her wound. "She is my friend. That is what friends do." The ship's doctor came and treated shoulder. The wound was not deep. It would heal quickly, but the memory of what happened would not heal so easily. That night, Captain Bora called a meeting. All the cubs were there, and were there too. Even some of the crew members who had been watching the humans with curiosity came. "Commander has sent a message to the Elder Council," Bora said. "They will meet us at the space station. They will judge the humans. They will decide if they live or die." Fear spread through the room. The cubs looked at each other with worried eyes. "What can we do?" asked. Bora was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at the young Loran with something like pride in her eyes. "We tell the truth," she said. "We tell them what the humans have taught us. We show them that kindness is not weakness, that love is not corruption. We make them understand." "What if they do not understand?" asked. "Then we fight for our friends." Bora looked at and, "I did not understand at first. I thought humans were weak and useless, but you proved me wrong. You showed me that strength comes in many forms. I will not let that lesson be forgotten." Stood up. His legs were shaking, but his voice was steady. "We are grateful for your help," he said, "but we do not want you to risk yourselves for us. If the elders decide we must die, then we will accept it. We do not want anyone else to be hurt because of us." The room went silent, then stood up too. "That is exactly why we must fight for you," the young cub said. "You care about us even when your own lives are in danger. You put others before yourselves. That is the most Loran thing I have ever seen, and I will not let anyone tell me that is wrong." One by one the other cubs stood up, with her bandaged shoulder, with tears in her eyes, with his fists clenched. They all stood together. "We are with you," they said. "We will fight for you." The floor vents of the Iron Claw echoed that night with many voices, young voices and old voices, roars of determination and purrs of hope. Something was coming, something big, and no one knew how it would end. The space station was enormous. It floated in the darkness like a metal mountain. Hundreds of Loran ships were docked at its ports. Thousands of Lorans walked its halls. This was the heart of the Loran Empire. This was where the Elder Council made their decisions. The Iron Claw docked at Port 7. Armed guards waited at the entrance. They were there to escort the humans to the Judgment Hall. Captain Bora walked at the front of the group. Behind her came the cubs, and in the middle, protected on all sides, walked in. Held her brother's hand tightly. Her face was pale with fear, but she did not cry. She had promised herself she would be brave, for the friends who were risking everything for them. The judgment hall was a massive room. Stone pillars rose from the floor to the ceiling high above. Thousands of Lorans sat in the viewing areas, waiting to see the trial. At the front of the room, on tall chairs carved from black stone, sat the Elder Council. There were 7 elders. They were ancient Lorans, their fur white with age. Their eyes were sharp and cold. They had seen many things in their long lives. They had judged many beings. Most of those beings were no longer alive. Commander stood to the side. He looked satisfied, smug. He was sure the elders would agree with him. "Bring forward the accused," said the head elder. His name was Elder. His voice was deep and rough like stone grinding against stone. The guards pushed and forward. They stood alone in the center of the hall. Thousands of Loran eyes stared at them. "These are the humans who have corrupted our young," said. "They have taught them weakness. They have made them forget what it means to be Loran." Elder looked at and his ancient eyes studied them carefully. "Is this true?" he asked them. "Have you corrupted our cubs?" His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might break out of his chest, but he forced himself to speak. "We have taught them nothing they did not want to learn," said. "We did not force anything on them. We simply showed them how humans live, how we care for each other, how we protect those we love." Love spat the word like it was poison. There is that human word again. Love makes you weak. Love makes you vulnerable. Lorans do not need love. "Then why do you protect your cubs?" asked suddenly. Everyone went silent. His voice was small, but it echoed through the great hall. "You build nurseries for them," continued. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke. "You teach them. You feed them. You keep them safe until they are grown. If love makes you weak, why do you do these things?" The elders looked at each other. This was not the answer they expected. "That is different," said quickly. "That is duty. That is ensuring the survival of our species." "Is it?" asked. "Or is it love? Love for your children, love for your future." We watched the cubs on the ship. We saw how they cared for each other, how they protected the smaller ones, how they helped each other learn. Was that corruption? Or was that the love you already had just waiting to grow? Elder raised his hand for silence. "We will hear from the cubs themselves. Bring forward the one called." Walked to the center of the hall. He stood next to and he did not kneel before the elders as was custom. He stood tall. "You are accused of being corrupted by these humans," Elder said. "What do you say?" Took a deep breath. He thought about everything that had happened, about the songs in the night, about the gentle hands that healed his wound, about the warmth of friendship. "I have not been corrupted," said. "I have been awakened." Murmurs spread through the hall. The elders leaned forward in their chairs. "Explain," said Elder. "Before I met the humans, I thought strength meant power. I thought being Loran meant being feared. But it showed me something different. They are small. They are weak by our standards. They cannot fight. They cannot run fast. They have no claws, no teeth, no armor. By all logic, they should not have survived." Turned to look at his friends. But they did survive. They survived because they love each other. Protected even when he knew he would die. Stayed alive because she did not want to leave her brother alone. Their weakness became their strength. Their love became their armor. "Pretty words," sneered. "But words do not change facts. These creatures are inferior." "No," said firmly. "They are different, and different does not mean inferior. I have learned more from these 2 humans than I learned in years of Loran training. I learned that kindness takes more courage than cruelty. I learned that helping others makes you stronger, not weaker. I learned that the measure of a species is not how well they fight, but how well they love." The hall was completely silent, even had nothing to say. Then slowly, Captain Bora walked forward. She knelt before the elders, which was the proper form of respect. "I ask permission to speak," she said. Elder nodded. Bora stood and faced the crowd. "I have commanded ships for 40 years. I have fought in 3 wars. I have killed more enemies than I can count. By every Loran measure I am strong. I am worthy." She paused and looked at him. "But these humans taught me something I never knew. They taught me that there is strength in gentleness. They taught me that showing care is not weakness. When sang to his sister to heal her nightmares, when smiled at a badly drawn flower to make a cub happy, when they thanked us for small kindnesses that we thought meant nothing. In those moments, I saw a power we do not have." Bora turned back to the elders. "We are predators. We have built an empire on fear and strength. But empires built on fear do not last. They crumble from within. Our cubs see this. They feel that something is missing. The humans showed them what that something is." She took a deep breath. "I propose a new law, a law for treating humans kindly, not because they are strong, not because we fear them, but because they have something to teach us, something we desperately need to learn." The elders conferred among themselves. Their voices were low. Their faces were unreadable. The whole hall waited in tense silence. Finally, Elder raised his hand. "We have reached a decision." Everyone held their breath. "These humans will not be executed. They have shown that their ways have value. Captain Bora's proposal will be considered by the full council. Until then, the humans and will serve as ambassadors to the Loran people. They will teach us about their ways, and we will learn." Cheers erupted from the cubs in the hall. They roared with joy. They ran forward and surrounded and careful not to crush them with their big bodies. Commander stood alone. His face was twisted with anger, but he said nothing. The elders had spoken. In the weeks that followed, many things changed and stayed on the space station. They met with Loran families. They shared human stories and songs. They showed the Lorans how to comfort each other, how to express care, how to say, "I love you," and mean it. The cubs from the Iron Claw became famous. Was invited to speak before the Elder Council many times. He talked about his experiences with the humans. He talked about friendship and kindness and love. The old Lorans listened. Some of them did not understand, but some of them did. A year later, the council passed the law. It was called the Law of Kind Treatment. It protected not just humans, but all peaceful species. It said that strength was not just about fighting. It was about helping, about caring, about love. And in the heart of the space station, in a small room that had once been a storage closet, there was a memorial. It was a section of floor vent taken from the Iron Claw. The vent where had first listened to songs. The vent that had echoed with roars of friendship. The plaque beneath it read, "Here, kindness echoed through metal walls. Here, cubs became teachers and humans became family. May we never forget what love can build." And visited the memorial often. Sometimes, and the other cubs came too. They would sit together, different species bound by something stronger than blood. They would remember how it all began, and they would smile. Because in the end, it was not the strong who changed the galaxy. It was the kind. It was those who dared to love even when it was dangerous, even when it was foolish, even when all logic said it could not work. The floor vents of 1,000 Loran ships echoed with new sounds now, not just roars and growls, but songs, laughter, the gentle hum of creatures learning to care. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, a small human cargo ship that had been destroyed by pirates was not forgotten. The people who died on it were remembered. Their children had survived, and their children had changed an empire. All because they knew how to love.